sense in terms of all these other films that we see. What it was like for you to ultimately work on this film?
I'm not sure what your question is.
Well,
what it was
your
like.
experience.
Well, it was quite an amazing experience in several ways. One is that Ruth was incredibly generous, not only with herself and her time, but with her opening up her archive to us, and her archive being deliciously boxes and boxes and boxes in her dining room. And, you know, we were just able to go in there and see anything, see through it. Ruth was also quite incredible in a few other ways in terms of the filmmaking process. For example, if we wanted to find a photograph of Edna, Ruth's best friend from 8th grade, you know, we just thought it was pretty remote, but it was worth the chance to ask Ruth if she knew where we might find a photograph. And in 2 seconds, she went into her Rolodex and she said, Edna's son lives outside of Philadelphia and gives us the phone number. And that happened at least a half dozen to a dozen times. So it was incredibly wonderful that Ruth is someone who stays in touch. It appears to stay in touch with everyone she's ever met, and everyone who's ever met her loves her. The other great thing about Ruth, working with her as a filmmaker, is that she was very organized and would ask us before each interview day what we'd like to focus on. So she would do her homework and read her own notes or read her books. And in fact, I'd like to take credit for the fact that we visited Ike on the very date. But I can't take any credit because Ruth was reading through Exodus when we were at Haifa Harbor waiting for us to film, and she said to me, you know, this is the exact date that that I brought the ship into the harbor. So the experience was as good as it possibly could be. And with Doris and Patty and our other executive producer, Denise, they were phenomenally wonderful to work with. And Bob and Sabina and I were a great team. So it was sort of a dream opportunity.
Thank you. And we can tell how old we are by knowing what a Rolodex is. Do you want to say a few words? And then we'll come back to you, Ruth.
For me, it was such a privilege to be part of this phenomenal story. And to have...
just keep it closer to you like this. Like this. It's on.
Oh, it's on. I said, for me, it was such a privilege, to come as a little refugee child from Naples, Italy, and then fast forward 30 years and then meet Ruth and become an important part of her life for her and for me, and for Patty to insist, because as she said, there were so many people that wanted to do a documentary on Ruth. And we went through a lot of people, and finally Patty said, enough is enough. Let's take over, and we did. And Patty, who, once she has a passion and a feeling that she must do it, there's no one that does it like she does. And the way it unfolded, and then to have a dream team like Ziva and Bob and Sabina was a gift from the heavens, because I was very emphatic about how I wanted this movie to be presented. Ruth has been in many movies, and she, of course, is the star and has so much to say and is so forthright. But I felt that it was important that it should not be a laundry list of all of her accomplishments. And what this movie brought out was the essence of a woman, which was very, very important for me. So to be a part of this wonderful film was an honor and a joy for me.
And it's on.
Hello. I feel the same way as Doris. I feel it was an honor to be part of this. I think that once, hopefully, in each one of your lifetimes, you have a chance to do something that's really different, that's original, that's a real stretch. And we had a chance. Doris and I consider ourselves Ruth's surrogate daughters, and we had a chance to do something and to bring Ruth's story to everyone. People always say to us, how did I not know about Ruth Gruber? And although many people, of course, did know Ruth through Hadassah and UJA and Israel Bonds, and she's done many things that people know, there were too many people who did not know the story of Ruth Gruber. And we had a chance to do it, and it was an amazing experience. And as I say, once in your lifetime, you sometimes have a chance to stretch and do something that you would never dream of doing. But we've all been inspired by Ruth, so I think that's how we got the nerve to do it.
Thank you.
The other thing was that we really wanted, we had the privilege of being able to share Ruth's life, but we wanted to share her life with the whole world.
I wanted to just say a word about Bob Richmond, who isn't here with us, who's the director of the film, that some films of his that you may have seen, which I saw, and they're wonderful. One is My Architect, which is a wonderful, wonderful film. I think it was playing down at the Film Forum or something like that. And then the other one was An Inconvenient Truth, that won the Academy Award with Al Gore. So
In addition,
Let me
the
say
September
just,
Sorry.
the September issue. I just wanted to say another word about Bob. I brought him into the project, and because we live in the same town, in Montclair, New Jersey, and he had been a cinematographer, and I was primarily a still photographer, just having done one film, Renee and I. And Bob is very low-key and very sort of makes up his mind in a very thorough and slow way. And so in order for me to convince him that this would be, a good experience for this to be his transition, this would be his directorial debut, and that's sort of a big deal, I brought him to meet Ruth, and it took 5 minutes. Okay, I'll try, he said. He fell in love with Ruth, and it was a great experience for him as well. I know.
Thank you. Okay, Ruth, we'll turn back to you. Now we've introduced everyone, and do we have a question? Yes. Okay, we're ready.
Hi, I also live. Sit down.
Turn the little button that says on.
Hi, I live in this building also.
She also lives in your building. She lives in your building as well. This is very
Yeah, all your neighbors are here. Everybody's here for you, Ruth.
And I just want to say, there were so many ways to have told Ruth's story. It's not on.
Just turn your. You can take this one here. There it is.
There's so many ways to have done this film, but the way you did it by interviewing Ruth and having her tell her story and the vignettes and bringing in people from her life was so beautiful. And I think that's what made it so powerful, that it gave you a sense of knowing Ruth. And to me, that I'm a psychologist, and I did my dissertation that way on people, and it brought a realness and a depth to this movie that really is so powerful. So I have a question for you, Ruth, though. I think you're a remarkable woman. I've known your story, but this gives your story a total different feel to me. And you're an amazing woman, but to be this kind of woman in the era you were this woman is even more amazing. And I'm wondering what happened in your family, what you got from your family that allowed you to be so courageous, so bold, that at 15 and 20, you know, said to your parents, I'm going off and doing these things, when it was so atypical, and you've had this such adventurous, courageous, bold life.
Yes, unfortunately, my mother didn't hear so well. But it's a wonderful question. This woman is a psychologist, and she asked,
One of the 88 in Ruth's building.
But one of the 88 in your building, because she's another neighbor. It's very nice. But no, but really, what she was asking was, what was it in your family that gave you the courage at 15 and at each of these stages in your life to go on and do all this? But what I'm going to suggest is maybe future questioners might want to come and just direct their questions right to my mother, so that she can really get the whole sense of all these questions. But anyway, that's the gist of it.
Well, I came from a modern Orthodox Jewish family, a family which taught me what it means to be Jewish in America. And we were 5 children. I was the 4th. We were 2 girls, 3 boys. And I think our love for each other and the role model that my father was affected us all, so that education was everything. The rabbis came first, then came the teachers. And when one of the teachers came, as you saw in the movie, came to the house, and my mother said, did she do anything wrong? Because usually it was only the parents who were told how awful their children who came to complain. But my teacher said she did nothing wrong, and we just wanted you to know what she was doing. And the teacher listened, and she said, you know, she told me she wants to be a writer. And I thought, you ought to know this. And it was very good news to me, because education and writing as part of education was a very important part of our lives. And one brother was a doctor. Another brother ran the whole East Coast for Upjohn Company. The 3rd brother was a dentist, and he created the organization of dentists that meet every year at that huge place downtown, which holds thousands of people. And they come from all over the world, dentists, and they all know Dr. Irving Gruber. And there was my sister who taught chemistry at NYU. So we were all into education, and I think that's what gave us the courage and the strength to keep going on.
Yes. Yes. Mike?
You need a microphone? Or maybe come closer and speak into my mother's left ear. So. Okay. Okay.
Of all the amazing things you've done and seen, you mentioned that the Eskimos really taught live within time. And I just wanted to get more